All right, it's Quick Fix Golf, and it's another Wednesday night with a bunch of lunatics that get together on the internet to talk about golf, and we have a very special guest. Of course, I have my partner here, Darren Gamelli. Hey, Darren, hey. We're the pros at Two Below Bay.
Two pros at Two Below Bay.
We're going to do it together. Ready? The pros at Two Below Bay. We need to see a psychiatrist. But anyway, we have with our guest tonight is Ryan. You say it's Zylstra? Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, Zylstra, yep.
And Ryan is a golf professional working at Calusa Pines Golf Club, which is a place where they don't let Cubans like me play.
What a great place. That place is the West Coast of Florida.
Absolutely, yeah. Unbelievable, huh? He's in the high rent district.
Yeah, it's a pretty special place down here.
And on top of that, you won the Assistant PGA National Championship 2 years in a row, did you not?
Incredible.
I won it in 2017. I didn't win it this year, but my first year I played in it 2 years ago, I did win it. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you won it twice.
No, I won it once. That was.
So once that doesn't count. I mean, come on.
anyone can get lucky once.
That is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations on that.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Most people don't. Who you playing against? I know all those guys playing against them. You gotta play really well.
Yeah, it's probably more difficult to win that than the head professionals tournament. More good players there.
Yep.
And the other thing is you won the State Open, what, in 2017?
I did. I won it that same year. It was 2017 was a very special year for me. Most notably was my birth of my son, my first child that year. But I got into the golf business that same year. As a club pro, I stopped playing professionally after about 12 years of trying to chase the dream, and then got in the club pro business in 2017, and that's the year where kind of everything. That was my magical year. I won 13 times that year out of 19 tournaments that I played, and State Open was one of them, and then the National Club Pro Assistant Championship was the capper, the icing on the cake at the end of the year. So
what? Let me ask you a question. How did you get to that point? What have you done? Who have you worked with? You play a lot of junior golf. How'd you get to that point?
Yeah, great question. I grew up in Canada, and I was a hockey player as a kid, and
There you go.
Hey.
yeah. Hey, sorry, I'm Canadian. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
No, yeah. So that's and it was just kind of honestly, it was a fluke. One of my teammates had a golf membership, and when I was like 14, and said, "Hey, why don't you come play with me?" And one day I had, during the summertime, and I went and did, and just kind of fell in love with it. And my mom got me a membership at the club, and lo and behold, within 3 years, I got down to a scratch handicap just every single day from sun up to sundown when I was a kid. When I wasn't in school during the summer, at the golf course. And then in the wintertime, I was just kind of always going to we had a big dome driving range, and I'd go there and hit balls once a week. And, I just kind of dedicated myself, and I really wanted to experience life somewhere else outside of where I grew up in Canada. And, next I got a golf scholarship to play college golf down here in the States, and played at VCU under Matt Ball, and turned pro in 2003, and played pretty much every mini tour created on the east coast of Florida, or on the east coast of the United States, between Florida and Maine, for the better part of 12 years. Never really got any cracks, never could really capitalize on any really great opportunities I had when I was playing full time to make it to the tour. And then lo and behold, I Monday qualified twice for the Greenbrier Classic in 2013 and 2017. So that was another little tidbit into the year of 2017 with all those wins. I got to play a tour event for the second time. So,
Well, Ryan, a lot of my and Bobby's clientele focus so much on execution, right? You just explained your resume in a short time period there. How much of that is luck?
There's definitely some luck involved, but I think hard work. My dad kind of told me when I was a kid, you only get out of it what you put into it. And that's just something that's always stuck with me. And sometimes I go a little extreme when I get kind of into something. and get my focus there. As my wife will tell me sometimes, hey, there, you do have a wife and a kid sometimes, because I get too wrapped up in my job. And but it was just something that was bred into me, is you only get out of it what you put into it. And I didn't have an opportunity to take a lot of lessons, but I didn't come from a family with a lot of money. So it was literally like me digging it out of the dirt to figure out technique, skill, how to play, asking a lot of questions of my friends and other fellow juniors who play tournament golf. And it was just, my desire to gain knowledge and figure out how to become good at something pretty quick.
So don't worry, your wife will remind you that you're married. You don't have to worry about that. That's where I exceed the professional is having wives tell me that I'm married.
Well, plural.
So one thing I think about the game today,
Ryan's coming across clear, but I can't hear you or Darren.
Yeah. Darren and Bobby, you guys are coming in and out.
Really?
Yeah.
Better microphone here. Can you hear me now?
I hear you clearly now. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, it seems like in today's golf, if you can't launch it a long ways, you're done.
Honestly, my opinion, I for the tour players, the guys the elite players that are trying to get to that level, absolutely, it is hitting it as far as humanly possible that you can is what's important. But for the average amateur golfer who we coach and teach, I think finding something that you can get in play, no matter the distance, that you can just trust, whether it's a little 15-yard, slicey cut or a little toey hook. I mean, it's something that, I think the amateur golfer really needs to focus on getting the ball in play, in my opinion, first, and then learn how to chip and putt. I mean, distance to me is a very important factor of your skill level that you're at. And obviously the closer to elite amateur or professional golf, distance is far more important than any other aspect, I think.
Well, we've got Cameron Champ up here. And
Yeah.
we're wondering
Who's
who's that?
Who's that?
I don't know, but he's not Pancho Gonzalez. Anyway,
With a name like Champ, I mean, you got to do something, right?
right. You got to have the name, either Tiger or.
It's like a ice cream man with the last name of Cone.
Oh, his first name is Marty.
You know it was coming.
All right. So anyway, we'll take a look at Cameron Champ. Tell us what you think, or what do you like about his swing or not like? If we go to the top, you notice he loads up on his right side something serious. Do you like that? You don't like it?
I love it. I mean, it's you can see it's a power move. He's using the ground to generate some coil and increase that shoulder turn. I think what impresses me so much about Cameron Champ when I watch him play is seeing how almost effortless it seems, that he doesn't even seem like he's really going at it that hard for the numbers that are actually coming out off a TrackMan. And it's amazing to see someone generate that much power look that easy.
How do you think he's generating the power looking so easy?
I think he's a great user of the ground. I think ground is a huge proponent in creating distance. If you're not using your lower body effectively, you're really giving up a lot in the distance category. Now, obviously, sequencing it all together is very important as well. But I just think he keeps the club beautifully in front of him for a good portion. He creates a tremendous amount of lag on the way down. Gets great weight transfer into his lead side and just kind of delays that angle of delivering the club as long as he can, and it just lets all that energy out right at the hip.
Now, what do you mean by the ground for the folks that are listening? What are they pushing against the ground on the way through the ball, or?
Yes, so using the ground means we're trying to, we can all swing a club with our upper body and our arms. That'll only generate but so much speed, and if you want to really increase your speed, you have to get the sequencing proper. If you turn everything together kind of with your upper body forcing your lower body to work, you'll have a lot of steeper angle of attack, a little more over the top motion. Whereas if you can use the ground where we start to swing with our upper body first, and the first move is the upper body, then we use our lower body to initiate to continue with the backswing. Then the lower body will start the downswing, followed by the upper body. So the sequencing will reverse, and you're putting more pressure into the ground. And if you give the ground resistance, it will resist back and give you equal force back. And, you're able to push more power into the ball.
Well, let's look at his knees here when he comes down this way. See, it's almost like you squat a little bit.
Yep, absolutely.
And then push against the ground and straighten up your legs as you're going through the ball.
Yeah, you want to push off the instep of that right foot there, and he posts up into that left side. That left knee straightens nicely, and that's a power source too. Is that left leg straightening pretty quick, and I think that might cause some knee problems for a lot of guys when you got that much speed, because you're putting so much pressure on that tendon and those joints, extending it that hard. But his coach will make adjustments as he goes longer in his career to sustain his body so it won't break down like we've seen with Tiger's body.
Well, look, he's got enough money, he can buy new knees.
It's very true.
Now watch this. Watch this. Watch his left leg. You ready? Right there. See how it straightens up?
Oh, yeah.
That's perfect.
Straight as a board.
Who's got a question for Ryan about the golf swing or anything? Anybody got a question you want to?
I've got something I just was brought to my attention by
oh, that's the GOAT.
Yeah, the old GOAT. But I was playing with this guy was telling me that on my downswing I was bringing up my right heel too quick. And
who
the
told
two
you this?
videos that I just looked at and you're talking about using the ground, I just noticed, and I never noticed it before as long as I've been doing this. That damn right heel doesn't come up right away. It stays down until just after contact. Am I seeing things, or is that right?
What,
no,
who told you to keep your heel down?
Huh?
Who told you?
One of the guys I was playing with, he told me, he said,
and you listened to that jackass? What the hell is the matter with you?
Yeah. What I was doing, I was getting a lot of wormers. And he said, you're standing up just as you're hitting the ball. And he said, your right heel is off the ground a good ways when you're hitting the ball. And he said, you got to keep that right heel down. And I tried it, and sure enough, it helped. But I just noticed on both of these guys that's all part of getting that ground. Is that what you're saying, Ryan?
Yeah. I mean, it's the heel coming off the ground. I there's ways that the heel coming off the ground doesn't hurt at all. Because if you look at someone like Justin Thomas at impact, as he's coming down into impact, his heel is way off the ground, his trail heel. But what it does for me, I believe that keeping the heel on the ground stabilizes my levels. I don't feel like my pelvis is gonna. So what happens is if your heel comes off the ground and your knee moves slightly towards the ball in the downswing, sometimes if you're not flexible and keeping your posture, your pelvis will start to move towards the ball, which will cause you to come up and out of the shot. You can hit some flip hooks. You can hit all kinds of an array of bad shots from doing that. If you look at probably one of the greatest ball strikers that you may or may never heard, Moe Norman, Canadian guy. And, Moe was legendary for how accurate he hit it and how long. If you looked at him, his 2 feet were on the ground planted way past impact. And he had what they call a soft left knee, which is kind of the opposite of what we see here with Craig Perks, where his leg is completely extended.
There's Moe.
As a power. Yeah, and you'll watch Moe as he comes through, his trail foot stays on the ground forever. And that left knee stays bent. You see it's still on the ground. That club's parallel to the ground through impact and beyond. And his
Moe is how wide he gets on the follow through.
Absolutely, but you look at his lead leg there. See how it's bent. He's got a bent left knee. Was what the whole reason behind that swing. That a gentleman is trying to use Moe's move was to say that it helps people relieve stress off their back by keeping the trail foot on the ground and having that lead leg a little bit soft. It took the pressure off the lower back for people, so they weren't getting hurt. It's not a tremendous power move, but it's definitely an extremely accurate move. I think getting the heel off the ground, that when you see guys do that, especially on the tour, that's a power move. That's an explosive move. Them exploding off the ground, and you'll see them as their legs will be both their legs are kind of straightening up as they're almost seems like they're jumping into the ball, but they're really not. It's the force they're pushing into the ground, resisting, and giving it back to them.
Now, you're Canadian. What about George Knudsen?
I don't know much about George Knudsen. I know the name, but for whatever reason, I grew up. Moe was at my club. He'd come around, and the owner of my golf course when I was a kid, he was good friends with Moe, and Moe would come do a clinic or two every year. So like Moe was just kind of the guy I knew, as a kid growing up. And then it was also a lot of, Mike Weir at the time was kind of becoming a bit of a household name and whatnot. So. But Moe, just for the sheer fact, I knew a lot about him just because I got to see him in person, do it several times. So,
well, a lot of the manuals from the Canadian PGA in training and teaching and everything were really based on George Knudsen. George Knudsen was a heck of a player. I mean, he was very accurate. He could play.
Yeah, I know about his playing ability and his record. I just never studied his swing or looked too much at his swing or seen a ton of footage of it. So, but Moe, I have watched plenty of over the years.
Be able to fix
I think we might. Yes.
You just hang in there. Anybody else got a question while I'm digging this up here? Let me see. Here's George Knudsen.
Ryan, can I ask you just a question quick?
Absolutely.
You said you saw Moe in person, and
Yes.
I've seen a lot of video of him, obviously. However, I never get to see the ball flight, and they talk about that he was incredibly straight. Is that true? Was it amazing to watch how straight he was?
It was definitely the straightest I've ever seen anyone hit a ball that many times in a row. Straight is straight, doesn't matter who hits it, but to watch him hit. I remember being a time when I was a kid, on the range, and our tee deck was just slightly elevated, so it was a little bit of a downhill into the range, maybe a couple yards. And I remember my head pro saying to me, or my owner of the club saying, "Hey, go out and put a couple baskets out by the 200 flag, and let me know. We'll try to get it around 185 to the front of the tee deck." At that time, that was about as far. Moe was probably carrying a 3-iron, and I remember setting the buckets out there and driving off to the side of the range to watch where these balls were landing. And he must have he probably hit, I'd say 20 to 25 3-irons. Now he just warmed up a little bit, so it wasn't just right out of the bag getting 3-iron, but I would watch him, and I remember seeing the first ball land, and it would look like it was about 10, 12 feet short. And I remember the next one being about 8 feet short. And then there was one about 5 feet past. I mean, he hit 10 in a row that I witnessed with my own eyes land inside this probably 15 to 18 foot circle around the pin from 185 yards. And I couldn't quite see the curvature because I was kind of on an angle, but the distance control was impeccable. And the trajectory was all the same.
Let's get this one right here. We got your little George Knudsen here.
Oh, I love it.
Now, Knudsen was a great guy besides being a great player. Unfortunately, he passed away. Part of it, he was a very heavy smoker.
Oh, boy.
And that didn't help him any.
Yeah, it's not like there's anything wrong with that.
There's anything wrong. You got to smoke cigars like me. Cubans smoke cigars. They live to be 100. Cigarettes will kill you. Now, there he is at the top. Look at this. He's got the angle. Look.
Very similar.
Sure does.
Yeah,
Look where his head is. Look where his head is. We run into this all the time. I don't know if you do, but always people, I think day one, they're told, keep your head down, and they interpret that with keeping their head on top of the ball.
Yeah. I think, again, everyone swings a little different, but I mean, if you have a little shift off the ball, a little slight, your head moves just a little bit off the ball in the backswing, that's going to help you create a little more leverage too, because you're getting a little bit better weight transfer into the back. I'm speaking this and a little bit of movement off the ball today. We had, Rocco Mediate's a member of the club, and Rocco was out of the club today, and I was at the back of the range, and he's hitting balls, and I kind of look over, and I mean, you see Rocco shifts probably, I'd say probably close to 6 inches off the ball, 5-6 inches off the ball on his takeaway. But he returns it back. He gets back towards the ball. He doesn't hang it that far back the whole way. But, it's there's so many variations of it. But, I think you got to do what's best for you and what your body kind of naturally does. Don't fight it.
Well, Rocco has plenty of cigars in his bag.
He sure does. There's one lit all the time.
Did he give you some? He usually has some decades in there. Because Rocky Patel gives them the cigars free.
Yeah, he sure does.
See, and I was at the senior tour event, and it was when I was working with Gene Sowers, and there was Rocco chipping next to us. We were just chipping balls of the green there, and I said, Rocco, I said, you got any cigars? And he goes, oh, you smoke cigars? I said, yeah. What do you expect? I said, so I walked over there, and he hands me 2 cigars. He said, I'm only going to give you 2 because I don't like you. And I said, I told him, I said, I don't like you either. And I told him a joke, and then he laughed, and he told me, he says, tell Sowers to take you to where my locker is and just take all the cigars you want. I got hundreds of them in there. And we opened up his locker, and it was like a ton of cigars in his locker.
It's a gold mine.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't take any.
He's, and he's such a genuinely nice guy. I mean, I've only met him a couple of times since I've been here, but, he's as nice a guy, the way he is on TV is kind of the same way he is in real life. And he might just, there's no mute button or button to bleep out the profanity when he talks in real life. So
anyway, you see the tip of the left shoulder lined up with the ball at impact?
Yeah.
That's what we talk about a lot. That, so that means your head's going to have to be behind the ball. I mean, your head can't be over the top of the ball when you hit it, I don't think.
I agree. It should be back a little bit because if those shoulders are working under, that trail shoulder starting to work under from an inside plane, your head's going to stay back a little bit. If it rotated kind of more parallel to the ground, your shoulders, then your head would kind of rotate with it and probably get in front of it a little bit more.
And one thing you might not be able to notice from here, but he always stood with a real closed stance. And I heard part of that was because one leg was shorter than the other.
Well,
that
could be a good point there.
Pocket he put his wallet
in. Well, one of the guys I took lessons with, Chico Miartuz, who was an Argentine golf pro, he tied at the LA Open with Knudsen and went into a playoff. And in the first hole of the playoff, Chico misses a putt that was like 3 feet long. And Chico was so mad, he walked right through the plate glass window of the clubhouse.
Oh, jeez.
And that was the end of him.
very clean window.
I mean, he survived, but I mean, he had scars all over his arms and everything. And the funny part, I don't know if you ever seen the Chico Tomahawk putter.
I have not.
But he made putters, and when I was in high school, I would make putters for him. I'd go there. He'd give me lessons during the day, and then at night I'd go to his little factory and make the putters. And they were the worst freaking putters on the planet, and so was he. But he was selling putters. I couldn't believe anybody would buy this stupid putter. You just look it up on eBay or something. We call it the Chico's Tomahawk putter. You'll see it's a piece of crap. So what do you think of George Newsom? You like him or you don't like him?
I love the golf swing. I think it's awesome. I mean, I know the stories of him and what he accomplished. And he's a legend from a golfing standpoint in Canada. Yeah, beautiful golf swing. I mean, just so fluid. Just again, one of those swings that makes it look effortless.
Anybody else with a question?
I have a question, Ryan. This is Paul Belmont.
Yes, sir.
When you do, I don't know if you kind of squat a little bit with your legs before you start moving your arms. When you set the club at the top, you squat down first, or what's your sequencing, I guess?
My sequencing is, I would never consider myself a long hitter of the golf ball, especially compared to guys on tour. Now, I do hit it long compared to a lot of people. But I'm 6'4", and I'm a precision player. I'm a guy that likes fairways and greens, and just tries to hit the ball just flush. I don't care about the distance; it's irrelevant to me, honestly. My game, but when swinging the club, and my sequencing is I try to go. I'm an upper body guy. I've always been a little more upper body dominant. I don't use my legs as well as I should. That's probably why I don't hit it as far as I could for as big as I am. But I always try to go, upper body, a little bit of almost like a one-piece kind of takeaway, where my upper body starts it and then my lower body will follow to the top of my swing. And then I'm always trying to initiate the first move of my downswing with my lower body with like a little bit of a bump, and then start to rotate out of the way. That will set my club hopefully a little bit more on plane. I have a tendency to get a little steep because I get a little quick from the top. So, that's something I fight all the time, but that's just my sequencing part of it as a tall guy, much like yourself, Paul. I know you're a tall gentleman too.
Right.
But I pay a lot of attention, sequencing, timing, tempo, rhythm, whatever the terms you want to use to describe the fluidity of your golf swing. I think it just kind of, as long as they kind of all stay flowing, in the order they're supposed to, upper body, lower body, upper body, then, the club's going to just kind of deliver itself kind of on the same path over and over again.
Right. You rode on the plane with Paul all the way, let's see, from Naples to Richmond?
Yeah, from Fort Lauderdale to Richmond. About
how
2
long
hours.
was that flight? About 9 hours? I bet it felt like it.
I'm a pretty chatty guy in general, and I got in the car. My wife picked me up at the airport, and I got in the car and we drove, and I didn't say anything for the first 10 minutes, and she said, "You all right?" And I said, "I'm fine." I said, "I'm just tired." She goes, "What do you mean you're tired?" I was like, "I just spent the whole 2 hours talking to a gentleman about golf."
I think everybody else on the plane had to be quiet so we could.
I think the people about 12 rows to 15 rows behind us definitely got a free lesson or two out of it. So.
Or a headache.
You get worse than we have. We told him we'd get him in the low thousands before he knows it. Anybody else got a question before we call it a night? Well, we're having so much fun here. Who's got a question? Wayne, anybody? Valderas? You have a microphone open? Huh?
I said, I've already contributed. It's somebody else's turn now.
Well, Dennis, you hit it pretty far.
Bobby, I'll ask Ryan a quick question. Just as far as what's your best drill for trying to increase club head speed or club speed?
Well, recently my club that I'm at here down here, we've got the it's called speed sticks or super speed sticks. And it's kind of actually helped. I see a couple tour members that we have at the club that are on the range all the time doing it, and they said they've increased speed. I don't get to play a lot of golf right now, so working a ton, but I have had a chance to use those speed sticks, and it's pretty awesome because you swing right-handed and left-handed. They make you do the drills both ways so that you're building the muscle on each side, and you're building up that speed each way, so it's not just one dimensional. They try to balance it out. But those things are great, and those are just training aids. I mean, and that's just standing in your garage or wherever you are outside in your yard and just swinging those things, doing the drills they tell you to do for 10 minutes or whatever, and that'll increase. It's tremendously increasing swing speeds all around the country. I know a lot of college teams use it in their practice to increase their students, their players' swing speeds over the wintertime.
We bought those for our golf academy, the speed sticks there, and it doesn't seem like Bobby's hitting his wife any harder with those things.
Because I haven't picked up 1 mile an hour with a
If he's talking about the super speed trainers, one of the things about those is you have to use them continuously to maintain the speed that you gain.
So Dennis,
Very true.
Here's my problem with those, and I was introduced to them when they first came out.
Sure, so was I. Yeah.
I don't understand why they do the opposite side. So to me, it's
because you want to be asymmetrical.
Well,
it also the stronger you
hit a golf ball, you don't have to be asymmetrical. It needs to be.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do to prevent injury. Remember that the faster you swing, the more torque and the more pressure and all that you're putting on your body. And if you're not strong enough to stop the club, that's where a lot of your injuries come in. So if you do it from both sides, you're training the muscles in both ways, and it's getting stronger. So it helps prevent the injuries.
That's exactly correct.
So I think that if you're just talking about speed training, and Dennis, you're as good as anybody who can talk about it. It really is more just kind of the downswing muscles that we need to train.
Yeah, the backswing doesn't help you hit it far, but having mobility in the backswing so that you can have a lengthy enough swing so that you can gather speed is important. You mentioned the super speed trainer. I would recommend that people look into something called the Ultimate Swing Trainer. It's by a guy named Mike Bauman out of Ohio. Mike's 45 or 46 years old and hit it 404 at the World Championships this year. It's nothing but, and I shouldn't say it like that, it is patented tubing that you use. You can use it as a plyometric or isometric type exercise. It's a wonderful trainer, and you'll pick up both strength, speed, flexibility, and mobility by using that instead of the super speed trainers.
What, and why would you ever want to train with something that's heavier? I don't know.
The same reason why Sean the Beast Feaster did. He's a three-time world champion, and he used a weighted driver. Is it Medicus or Momentous? It was a Momentous. Yeah. The thing that gives you is you can go out and swing something heavy. Now, you're not swinging it before competition. You're swinging it for training purposes. You gain strength, you gain flexibility, you gain stability, you gain mobility. The only thing you don't gain out of it is speed. So you have to train speed in addition to the weighted club. I use a weighted club to help on technical parts of the swings. Paul and I worked together one day, and I've been working with weighted club to help me do a smoother, more controlled swing so I don't hurt myself in learning how to make a change. That really comes into play. So
you know, like me, because I tell you what, I think it's all a waste of time because I don't like having swinging.
You've been hitting a golf ball since you were 4 years old. A lot of us haven't.
Well, but the problem is this: if I start swinging something heavy and then I grab my real clubs, I'm trying to be consistent, and I think I just. Even if there's different head weights on the clubs, like we use this longer driver lately that we put a light. What's the gram weight on that head?
It's under 200 grams for the whole club.
Right, but then the problem is I pick up my 3-wood and it doesn't weigh the same.
145 with head weight.
Then my 3-wood feels too heavy. Does that make any sense to you, Ryan? Is it?
I totally understand it. Yeah, again, I've never really done.
Game. It's a field game for me anyway.
I agree 100%, and I believe that, the average player, your average amateur golfer would hit it further if they learned how to swing the club smoother, because they're more likely to hit the center of the face, and hitting the ball solid is what's going to give you distance. You can swing it as hard as you want, and if you're hitting it off the heel, the toe of any iron, I don't care how forgiving they are, they're not going to fly the yardage they should, as you would if you just swung it a feeling of 75 to 80% of what your max speed is, and feel it and just make that nice, smooth, controlled swing and hit that center of the club face. That ball will go.
Now, what kind of irons do you play with?
I play Ping eye blades right now, but I'm actually in the process of trying to get myself the new Ping G410s that just came out.
Yep.
It's supposed to be a player's look, but with a game improvement kind of feel. So it's a little unique that way. So something I'm trying to get my hands on right now.
Ping's a good company.
I've only been with them. I've been with them for 2 years now, and I was played every company under the sun when I was trying to do it for a living. Anytime I could find a company to be willing to give me something for next to nothing, I'd try it and play it. And could be another reason why I didn't have the success I was hoping for. But Ping has been the best I've played, honestly, in the 15 years or so I've been a professional, and it's just a great company from being out at the factory and seeing everything out there and how they do it. It's a tremendous company.
Yeah, I stayed at Carson's house for a week once, way back in the 70s.
Yeah, it's his vision. Just the whole experience of just going through the tour of the factory. Being part of the staff out there, or as a staffer with them. I got a little bit nicer treatment than the average paying customer, but still the whole experience, just to see that the milling machine, the very first milling machine that he had to get a loan for to be able to build putters, that was the only loan he ever had. It was for $5,000, and he got rejected the first 3 times he applied for the loan, and then finally got it and said, I'll never ask for a loan again, and everything has been paid for by them with no debt. The company's got no debt at all. So.
Yeah, he used to have a Citroen. He used to drive a Citroen, a French car.
Yeah, and it's pretty neat. So you go out there, and his office is the same as it was the day he passed away. They've never touched it. It's in a building that's not even used anymore. But his office, because I got to go in there, and there's a newspaper on there from the day it was 97 or something. I can't remember the exact date of when he passed away. I'd be lying if I told you I knew it. But I just remember seeing, and it was around the time, that year, and he had a check from Jack Nicklaus on his wall and a check from Neil Armstrong for buying a putter for like $25 from back in the when he first created them, and he didn't give anything away to anybody. He even charged Mr. Nicklaus and Neil Armstrong for putters, So it's just a unique guy that had an amazing vision, and it's amazing to see how family run this company is, and how many loyal employees they have. 40 year employees that have been with them forever.
Yeah, no, he was a great guy. So you use the ping, and what do you use for a driver?
I am ping through the bag, so I've got the G400 Max right now in the bag. They fit me for that when I was back out there in the spring, so I'm thinking I might try to get my hands on the G410 that just came out with the adjustable weight in the back and the lower center of gravity. So that, and I'm a ping hybrid guy. I've got ping wedges. The only thing I don't play ping is my putter. My putter is the same putter I've used for probably I've had for about 15 years, other than one stint with a belly putter. I've been using this old Odyssey long neck number 6 white hot that I got from Larry Loving, if you know who he is.
Yep.
So I got it from him years ago just after I got out of college.
Okay.
So you were with Matt Ball. Matt's a good guy.
Matt was good. Yeah, he was relatively new. My first year there was his, I think, first full season.
Oh, really?
With his recruits, and so Matt was relatively young as a coach, and I ended up there kind of because I was a transfer student coming in from a junior college in Texas, and he wanted some experience. He had a lot of young guys. They lost 3 seniors the previous year, and so it just kind of worked out. They offered me the same scholarship to go to VCU as I was getting to go to Southern Miss, which was where I was about to sign in Hattiesburg. But kind of glad I ended up at VCU because a lot of things have worked out since going to Richmond. So,
did he try to get you to fade the ball some?
I already was a fader of the ball because I came a little bit over the top and I was a little steep, so I already had a pretty easy fade to play. It was the draw that trying to get to teach me was the hard shot for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Jack Bell, that he used to take lessons from. Jack Bell was a big proponent of hitting the ball left to right. Jack Bell used to be the pro at what's that place? Tam O'Shanter tournament used to be.
Oh yeah.
What's the name of that place?
So Jack was the head pro at La Jolla Country Club out in San Diego for a bit, and he was also the head pro at Medina.
Medina, that's it.
In Chicago.
In Chicago, exactly.
Yeah, and so Jack's whole deal was, left heel off the ground. If you're a righty on the backswing, get the left heel off the ground, get that right hand on top a lot so that the V was kind of pointing at your chest or at your chin, not at your right shoulder, and just hit it. He really loved to see that high towering fade that he claims that he's the one that taught Craig Stadler how to play the fade, his famous fade that he plays.
Well, if you know Jack Bell like I do, you got to take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah, you certainly did. So.
Well, I tell you what, Ryan, you're a champ, man, to come on with us tonight. I hope all the guys appreciated a lot of the insight that you gave. Yeah, you did great, and congrats on winning the championship for the.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was a ton of fun. I love chatting golf. Anytime, I'd love to come back on again.
Love to have you.
Sounds great.
We won't make you sit in an airplane with Paul for 9 hours.
Well, listen, we have Paul to thank for having Ryan on tonight, because Paul was the one that mentioned him to me and told me how much he was impressed with you, Ryan, when he met you on the plane.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I'm passionate. That's the one thing that anyone.
You wouldn't be that passionate with Belmont on the plane, would you? I mean, come on.
No, it was wrong with that. It was totally fine. At first, I didn't know what to expect at first, but it was a it was a nice plane ride, and I had some great, interesting conversation.
Well, you know, Paul's sons. Did he tell you about his sons? They went to VMI, and one of them's Paul. Tell him what is he's a colonel in the
I
army.
have a son. Yeah, I have 3 sons. Paul's a lieutenant colonel in the Army, still there. My son William's, who I think I told you I was visiting down in Boca Raton.
Yep.
He went.
He was in Cell Block D.
He was.
Right.
Company D. They're all cell blocks at VMI.
Did you get to talk to him through the glass?
Having 3 boys, Bobby, I got experience with that. Yep. Learn to make friends with the judges and the lawyers when you're raising a boy.
I told you, Ryan, you're going to be sorry.
No, you know what? I love laughing, and this has been a ton of fun. I've laughed a ton tonight.
Good. Well, it was a pleasure to have you, and it was really, really. I mean, I know Darren was impressed, and Darren he's yeah. You don't impress him very easy. He's a real guru. I mean, he's been everywhere. He worked for Nicklaus. He worked for what's that other? Who's that other knuckhead with the Martin Hall? He's worked with all those guys. Why he's hanging around with me is hard to believe, but outside of that, I'm just very fortunate.
You're a fun guy, Bobby. So.
Thank you, partner.
All right, well, it was great talking with you guys tonight.
We'll stay in contact. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Chet.
Thanks,
Good night,
Ryan.
David.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, Chet. Good night, David. Good night, David.